Is it just me, or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey, everybody, welcome to Late Late Horror Show. I am Dino, as always. What is going on? Yes, lots to talk about tonight. If you haven't seen this movie, which I'll get into and talk about here in a few, you need to see it. La Strega in Amore, which means The Witch in Love, or as it's also known as The Witch Aura. Strange Obsession. It's such a great movie. But anyways, let me talk about. Usually, I have a movie night on Friday nights. Okay, for Patreons and channel members. This has been somewhat of a weird month. That's all I'll say. Lots going on. Lots going on. But I'm working on something just a little bit different for movie nights on Friday. Something a little bit different than what we've been doing. That might be easier for people and allow more people to come. So I'm working on that, and hopefully by next week, Friday, everything will be set. But I am working on it. And also, before I get into talking about this movie, which I just stumbled across one night, started watching it, and I am just like, you have got to be kidding me. I fell in love with this film. Uh, Let me say hello to everybody in here first. Then I'll talk about the storms also, man. I'm surprised that I didn't get knocked off the air last night, and I'm able to stream right now because the tornadoes, the wind, the thunderstorms, the lightning, it was unbelievable last night. Like over 230 people are without power and surrounding, and I'm like, how am I able to stream? Usually that don't happen, but everything is going good so far here. But there's a lot of people who need help and prayers and all that good stuff. But Duck Dodgers, what's going on? Sears James, Ciao, brother Dino. Yes, we will be talking about this Italian, technically a Gothic romance, but it's a, we'll talk about it because it's a drama, horror. It's technically horror mystery, Gothic horror mystery. Um, it takes a weird turn, psychotronic film. We'll talk about it. You guys know me with my giallo films, and we'll talk. Connie Clary, what's going on? One Sean Bond, hey, what's going on? Good to see you. Uh, I can't wait to talk about this movie. Poe Girl Shines. We just got our partial power back on, and back in a few hours ago. Oh, good. Yes. Markavi Fatavi. I tie. Okay. Good to see you. Sweet Indigo. Kevin, what is up? Good to see you. Duck Dodgers, Edward Stewart. I'm probably renaming names, but you'll rename names is what you're doing. Bubba, I think I've said. Night Fright Talk Show was here at the beginning. So good to see everybody coming in here. Not used to me streaming on a Friday night, but what the hell? Here I am. So this most certainly is a movie that, again, people look at the title and they go, I don't know that movie. I'm not even going to be here for the stream or something like that. But this movie is unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. Like I said, I was laying in bed one night going through, and I'm like going, oh, what's this? What's this? And since I love Italian horror films, you know me with the giallo genre, right? I figured, I'll give it a shot, and I am so glad I did. As we're giallo is all about the slasher and other elements and stuff like that. This is more, if you love dark shadows, okay, this kind of has that vibe. It's a black, it's, right at the tail end of all the black and whites, even though they were doing color films at the time. This is a black and white film, and uh, it just has that feel to it. But it does have a Gothic feel. It's set around this gigantic, large, decrepit mansion, which we'll talk about too. Sears James, what's going on? Good to see you. It is also based on the novel Aura Aura, which is the name of the female in here, played by Rosanna Schiaffino. I should know this. I got some Italian in me, but we will talk about her in a second too. But yes, the name of the book is Aura. It's by celebrated Mexican writer Carlos Fuentes, and it is directed by Damiano Damiani. We even get a Giallo vet, so to speak. I mean, I've seen him in a lot of Giallo films. Ivan Rossman, who plays the Ivan Rasimov, who plays the librarian at the very end of the film. He pops in, and I'll tell you why. But the librarian is also supposed to be played by Richard Johnson, and also Fabrizio. So there's not a lot of characters in this film, but they don't get much prettier than Rosanna Schiaffino. Edward Stewart says, yes, I'm surprised how many people. I love this movie, Dino, Connie Clary. Duck Dodgers Connie cussed last night. Dino doing a podcast on Friday night. Something is going on. During a podcast, Connie cussed. Wait, what's going on? During a podcast? What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't understand. During the stream last night? Anyways, everybody's allowed to cuss every now and then. But I'm surprised at how many might have seen this. Edward said he's seen it, and Connie loves this film. It's a cult film, as a lot of those Italian directors of that period who did these types of films ended up being. This movie wasn't that big or much talked about at the time in 1966, 67, 68, 69, as it was released in other countries. But it kind of reminds you of Kill Baby Kill also. It's kind of got that kind of vibe, even though Kill Baby Kill is in color, kind of a different movie, but it kind of feels that way. Let's see, restore power for all. They don't get much better. Yeah, Aura, I will say, okay, this is a gothic romance, but it's not really. I mean, it is and it isn't. The movie kind of starts off normal, okay? It's about this, and then it gets, let me see, it gets kind of, it's normal, it gets gothic, dreamy, then seductive, and then weird, and then disturbing, and then, towards that latter third of the film, you get a lot going on in this kind of horror-like dream of witchcraft and love and revenge and all kinds of weird stuff that goes on. So it's really, really intriguing. Like this movie from beginning to end, just like if you guys have seen any of my Giallo reviews or retrospectives that I've talked about, that I say about 80% of them are about a 5 out of 10, slow paced, longer than they should be. Doesn't mean I don't like it. It's an okay movie for the 5s out of 10, right? That's why a 5 is right in the middle there. Sounds awesome. Good evening, Dino in chat. Ryan79, good to see you. I'm looking for certain book. Ignore me for now. Okay. Good evening, everybody. How's it going for tonight? Cheers to Fears. What's going on? Cheers to Fears. Just talking about a movie that I came across that I just love. And this movie was about an hour, 44 minutes. For me, and believe me, I've seen a lot of slow-paced films. Again, out of the 40-something odd Giallo films I've reviewed with Ginger, we've talked over and over about how slow-paced some of it is. Oops, hopefully we are still on the air. Are we still on the air, please? As power is going out and internet and everything else over this area. So hopefully everything's good. It looks like everything's good. Let me know that the stream's still going. Looks like it is. But this movie for an hour, 44 minutes, and even some people, I've seen some reviews on this that says it was kind of slow paced, but not at all. I didn't get tired. At one point, no point did I get tired of this film, watching it or anything. I mean, I loved it. I loved the film. Yes, everything's good. Cut out for a second, but you're good. Okay, awesome, awesome. I just want the stream to keep going. I don't want two separate streams of me talking about this film. But anyways, what I would say about this film, it starts out, you know, with this older woman. She's following Richard Johnson, who is he's kind of a very arrogant womanizer. Basically, that's what he is. He's an arrogant womanizer who's betting this woman, and I would say there's no nudity in this film, at least in the version I've seen. No nudity whatsoever. But one of the most seductive films that I've seen out of the Italian genre. Not the most erotic, okay, a little bit different. Most of those giallo films, they get down and dirty and nude and everything else. But this, with the character of Ora, which I'll get into, the younger girl played by Rosanna Schiaffino. I'll just say Rosanna now. But Ora, beautiful black hair. She's got such a beautiful face. And throughout the movie, because the movie's about the witch in love, so, and the plot itself, which I'm going to get into really quick here, has to do with this younger woman named Ora. And it's a piece of artwork, the way he did this film. I have never sat through a movie like this, any kind of horror, mystery, drama, maybe some, who knows, some romance, I don't know, that kind of drove me to fall in love with Ora, okay? The way her mannerisms. Please don't go offline. I guess I'm having internet issues, and hopefully it sticks around until I get through this. Um, there is something about her so alluring, okay, that I just couldn't keep my eyes off of her, and I wanted more and more and more of her in the movie. And she played a big enough role in the movie, but not big enough, but just overwhelming. And so this Richard Johnson, who is this arrogant womanizer, I know, still here. Good to know, Ryan. Good to know. One of 13 titles included in it. Yeah, I did read that too. Richard Johnson, this old woman is following him. He comes out from bedding this woman up in her apartment, and they come down, and they're supposed to be a couple, but I don't think this guy cares whatsoever. But you know what? You come to like the guy throughout the movie because he's being used just as much. Not that what he's doing is right, but it quickly goes from that to this older woman following him, to where he sees her again as he's hanging out with this other woman who's painting, and she must know him, and she must bed with him at times. But he sees. I'm trying to get to the mansion because the entirety of this film is filmed at this decrepit old mansion, which is so awesome, so awesome. But the very beginning, for a few minutes, they're introducing this woman who's following him. But he sees that she put an ad in the paper for somebody like him with a background, where he can be kind of like a librarian and go through the transcripts and redo them all, because this older woman who her name is Consuela Lorente, Consuela, played by Sarah Ferrati. She's an older woman. She asked him to be a librarian in this gigantic mansion in the middle of the city. You know how you open up the door and you don't expect what's in there? There's giant courtyard. castle walls. It looks like rooms and giant rooms, and but a lot of it's falling apart. Few rooms are perfectly made, but you'll find out about why that is in a minute here, because she basically wants to hire him to take care of these manuscripts that her husband wrote when she was very, very young. From the time that she met him, her husband started writing these erotic, journals of all their escapades and everything they did, the way they lived their life, and what went on. And up until the day he died. Okay. And it comes to play in later in the book, the movie. The book's a separate issue, but the movie, that Beth Germanetti, what's going on? What is going on? Richard Johnson's Sergio's girlfriend was played by Elizabeth Wilding. She had short parts in the film. Yeah, very short parts. That's why she was just at the beginning, very, very end. Not that big of a deal. It's really basically four actors and actresses in the entire movie, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. But going through the transcripts and the books that are in this library, and the history of her life, eventually Richard Johnson, should I get to that yet? Because at the very, very end of all of those journals, when he dies, her husband, Consuela's husband, who, by the way, is in a glass coffin in one of the rooms where they live. And again, I can't do justice to the way the film looks. Walking through this mansion, the halls, the rooms, the library, it's just something I've never seen before. And it's the look of it. Of course, this is set in a different country. It's 1966. And, things just look a certain way. But just the way everything looks just is beautiful. And it just keeps me intrigued throughout the entire film, but she's trying to convince him. She's convincing, trying. And he keeps saying, there's no way I'm taking this job. You can get somebody else to do this, he just keeps saying no. He keeps saying no. And the old woman, Consuela, is prodding and prodding and prodding. And for some reason, she really wants him to be the one to be the guy in this mansion. And there's a reason for it, because there's a routine that this witch, who Consuela is, because like I said, it quickly turns into this weird psychotronic, horror mystery type thing, and witchcraft involved. And you don't really, like, halfway through you go, oh, here's where the witchcraft is coming. And even before that, you start wondering, what's going on with the daughter, what's going on with the mother, what's going on. Is very, 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 very cool. Rest in peace, Terry Funk, pro wrestler. Yes, a very young age. Sad that he had gone. Sounds better and better. Dino, Serge James. Oh, Serge James, this movie, again, it's probably one of the best movies I've seen this year, maybe. That's saying a lot. CM, what is going on? CM, have you seen this movie? I know you talk quite a bit about the Giallo and stuff like that, but have you seen this one, CM? I fell in love with this movie, and I don't think I'll forget about it for a while. That's how good it was. But so the old woman, Consuela, is up in the library, and after showing him, you got to help me. You got to become the new librarian. She's going to give him room and board. And all along, I don't think he has any choice in the matter because of the witchcraft. But she goes over to her tea when they're, and again, watch the movie, because me talking about it might give you an idea on the movie, but I probably can't do it justice talking about it. I'm just kind of like, gushing over this film. But they're in the big library, and you see little mice running around and stuff like that. It's kind of sets the scene. And there's rooms off to the left and to the right, and I just never seen anything like it. I wanted to live there so badly, so badly. But Consuela, the old woman, goes over to the tea, and she drinks herself a tea and immediately collapses. And this is where Richard Johnson's like, what the heck? And picks her up, puts her in a chair, and runs over the phone and asks the doctor to come. He's got a friend who's a doctor and says, come on over, come on over. One of the best witch movies of the 60s, next to Horror Hotel, Edward Stewart. Ed, love you being in the chat, man. Well said, well said. Because this is a great witch movie. The latter half, the second half of this movie, I love the first half, middle, all of it. But the second half of this movie is just, when it comes to horror mysteries, witchcraft, it's a ride. It's unbelievable. But long story short about the doctor, she basically drinks this tea, and I think the tea, oh God, I mean, spoilers. So I'm going to let you know about spoilers and stuff like that. But she drinks some tea, and the next thing you know, she says, I'm okay. No, don't worry about it. But she's still laying there. And her daughter pops out from one of the rooms in the back. And this is where we're introduced to Aura, which, what a beautiful name. What a lovely name. Aura. The book is named Aura also, but Aura. It's just a beautiful name for a beautiful woman in this film. Kind of like the Planet of the Apes and Nova, when she pops out of nowhere and Charlton Heston takes her in with his manly whatever. Chuck Heston. Nova. When Nova comes in, Nova was, oh my God, such a beautiful woman also. But that simple short name, not a usual name, but anyways, Aura comes out, and that's when you're introduced to her, and you see the allure. And this dude, Richard Johnson, is immediately drawn to her. He's a womanizer. All he wants is one thing. He wants her. He sees her, and he's like, I want Aura now. So very quickly, he's going, okay, I want to be the librarian here because this beautiful woman is here. And I mean, he almost kind of wants to go to bed with her right off the, I mean, there's just no stopping this guy. It's like, let's, he's, but lots of information going back and forth. But there's this weird thing that you don't find out a little bit later between the mother and Aura, that there's some odd thing going on there. And I'm trying not to give it away. If you guys have read anything about it, you probably already know, but I'm trying to give some bright eyes. Yes, WTF, bright eyes. Nova. John Swan, what's going on? Ian Sharp. Good to see all of you guys here tonight. Linda Harrison is Nova. Yes. Such a Planet of the Apes, man. One of my greatest franchises ever. I love the TV series, the movies, everything. Anyways, so Aura, when she appears and the old lady Consuela collapses, and they kind of get Richard Johnson in their grips, you know what I mean? They've kind of, you see what the story's trying to do. The story is trying to pull him in by the beauty and the allure of Aura, and it's working because that's where the storyline's going. So he's sticking around. But everything she does, she's just, luring him in, up until this point that we're introduced by, because they put Consuela in her bedroom. She lays her down, which this was odd because of what you find out a little bit later. There's a very interesting interaction that is involved with the witchcraft. I almost hate to give it away now because it kind of spoils me talking about it a little bit. But anyways, puts the old lady on the bed, goes back to Aura. Aura starts to talk about the other librarian that's before she wanted Richard Johnson, this Fabrizio. Fabrizio is played by Gian Maria Volante. Fabrizio is this man who he comes out. He's introduced while they're in this room, the library, when he's laying down with Aura, Richard Johnson, in the bed, and they're kissing and they're getting ready to. She says, and I love this, and it's everything that I was talking about at the beginning that kind of makes this such an erotic, alluring. I couldn't keep my eyes off of it for that reason. The whole movie is what Aura kept doing throughout this movie without nudity at all. It was just, you know how you look in the eyes of somebody and you see, man, there's something about you. You know what I mean? That's Aura. That's the actress Rosanna Schiaffino. I'm not saying that right, probably, but she's laying there and she says, "Okay, we can go to sleep together." Whatever. I'm trying to make it. But you can't use your hands, basically. You got to use your mouth. And there's this interaction where she starts using her mouth to pull off the buttons and the jacket and the shirt as he starts to do the same. Okay. And so they both start doing this with their mouths and not touching with their hands. And then they're laying down on the bed that's there. And Fabrizio comes in and he's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Well, what's going on here?" Not really caring, but kind of caring. Or such a playful gal. The lovemaking scene was classic, teeth only. Yes, yes, yes. Fabrizio, though, when he comes in, Aura makes this kind of gets up, puts her clothes on, and basically says, "Richard Johnson, this guy, he attacked me. He was trying to have his way with me. He attacked me," and that's kind of what was coming across. And it was a weird interaction because Fabrizio was kind of seemed like he was in charge, and she just kept like, hugging him and going up close to him. And there's just this weird interaction that was going on. And if he was in charge, which some ways don't make sense a little bit later on in the film, because I'm like going, well, if he's in charge so much, which technically in the end he really wasn't, but it was coming across that way. And I was trying to figure out what point is Aura trying to make to Richard Johnson, this new guy, if they're trying to, Consuela and Aura are trying to get rid of Fabrizio, because they want Fabrizio out of there. The old guy out, new guy in. Okay. So, but there's something that happens a little later that makes me think, okay, I see what's going on. They're trying to make some friction between the character of Fabrizio and Richard Johnson. Okay. So that something can happen a little bit later on. So what ends up happening next is there's the sequence of events where Fabrizio goes away. They go into the room, this bedroom where it's Fabrizio's room. Well, it's technically Aura and Fabrizio's room. And, they're all trying to figure out, he's trying to figure out, well, Fabrizio's like, "You're not taking my job. I'm the librarian here. You're not coming taking my job." And I think Aura kept attaching herself to Fabrizio because she knew Richard Johnson wanted her. You know what I mean? She was a dangerous beauty, yet he was drawn to her like moth to a flame. The Sears James, yes. The seduction sounds like it can be similar to Alfred Hitchcock. psychological horror of Psycho. A little bit Duck Dodgers, a little bit. Uh, it's this is a movie that I've like none I've ever seen before. Um, it could be just the early Italian films, which I'm fairly new and getting used to. This not being a giallo, heck, I've watched over 40 giallo films, so I get that genre for the most part. But this is a little bit different. It's kind of a gothic, dreamy horror mystery. It's a witchcraft film. Entirely a witchcraft film, a witch film. And there's a moment where Fabrizio is praying, and later on Richard Johnson ends up praying the same way because evidently Consuela, the old woman in her witchcraft, takes a hold of these men, and how can I say, takes a hold of these men and has control of them, utter control over them through aura, which I'll get to right now, because Consuela, the older woman, and her daughter, Aura, who really isn't her daughter. Aura really is the old woman, Consuela. I'm so sorry to disappoint everybody. Spoilers, like I said, but that is Consuela. And the point in this film, when you find that out, and it's very, yes, uses them in every way possible. Well, you know what? Let me hold off a second on how we find out that Aura and Consuela are both the same. I mean, I kind of was started figuring it out, but there's this thing that starts happening in the movie where Richard Johnson, the new librarian, is looking at Aura and Consuela at the same time because they're in frame, and that's where they try to confuse you, because you're looking and you're going, well, they're in the same frame, but he turns and he sees her, Consuela, and then he turns and he sees Aura. So in his mind, with witchcraft, the image of one can disappear and show the image of another. So it's very interesting the way they do that throughout this movie. Again, kept me so there and so involved in this story, and it's magical. I don't know what more to say. If you're a horror lover like me and love the gothic stuff and just what was going on here, it just was unbelievable. I know I'm gushing again. But we got to get rid of Fabrizio first, right? But there's, like I said, there was this thing where they would be in the same frame in the picture. They even sat next to each other and they would fold their hands the same time. They would do things the same time. And then they would flash back to Richard watching them going, and you start to think, okay, something's up. And, and in my mind, I'm going, okay, that's the same. They're the same people. You know what I mean? It's the old woman pretending to be Aura. And that's what it is. But the way they write the storyline, there's a little bit of uncertainty. You're trying to think, is it? What's going on here? But yeah, when they start moving at the same time, they're crossing their hands and all kinds of other stuff. Then you kind of know. You kind of figure it out. But in the meantime, Fabrizio starts to take and get more aggravated. And Pete or Richard Johnson he says, no. He goes to Consuela because he's sick and tired of the dealings. And there's a lot of things that I haven't touched on that if you watch the movie, you can start touching on it, because there's a point where Fabrizio wants Richard to go to bed with Aura, and he's in the bathroom, but then he comes out and he's got some control over Aura through fencing, and there's this bravado comes. It's just very weird. And once you see the whole storyline play out, you get it. This is what Consuela was wanting. She wanted a confrontation. And when Fabrizio said, "You leave, I'm the librarian," Richard goes straight to the old lady, Consuela, and says, "No, let's go see her." So they both go. And that's when the old woman says, "Fabrizio, you have to go, you know?" And she tells Richard, it's so funny. Slow burn movie. No, Ian Sharp, not this one. Not a slow burn. All four major roles were well acted. Yes, Edward Stewart, outstanding performances. If you've seen the movie and you think it's a slow burn, then we've all got our own opinion, but Ian Sharp, it kept me intrigued the entire film, all 1 hour and 44 minutes, 100%. But what happens when she tells Richard, "You're hired, kick him out." What ensues next is Richard chasing Fabrizio throughout the mansion and up through the library, and they're causing all kinds of damage and breaking bookshelves and everything else. And it comes to a point to where they're together and they're fighting. Punches are being thrown. No, I liked it. I figured you liked it, Ian Sharp, but slow burn, not for me. But a lot of people I did hear and see did say a little bit, but not for me, 100%. Chased him, started fighting Fabrizio, and Fabrizio's by the staircase and just gets his head pushed right in, and he looks at Richard, turns around, and he's just like walks back and then goes to the steps and collapses. So the old woman comes in and says, and Aura, they're both there, because every time she drinks the tea, Aura's there. That's when Aura appears. So somehow the tea is involved with the witchcraft, which brings upon Aura. Oh, Aura. And the interaction there. But Consuela actually tells Richard that there's no way we're calling the police. You're not coming. You're not calling the police. We don't want them involved, because if they do get involved, there's going to be all kinds of trouble. And I don't want to be into any like newspapers and some kind of conspiracy and everything else going on. So she convinces him, no way, you got to get rid of the body. So it's funny because he eventually says okay, because they basically threaten him and say, if you want to be with Aura, you've got to get rid of this body. We can't have nothing shady going on in this mansion. Meanwhile, a lot of spots are barren and all that, because the old woman, Consuela, the witch, keeps selling off furniture and pieces and parts of art and everything that were left over in this mansion to the antique store 50 feet away, right outside her front door. Very, very good for her, right? So to give her more money, to keep on going, to keep on living. But she's dwindling down. But the scene when, not for cat lovers. Yeah, no, I'm not even talking about that. That's for sure. If there are, when it comes to witchcraft, it was 1966, Italy. There were things going on with cats that shouldn't have been in the film. I mean, some disturbing imagery a couple times in the greenhouse that you really didn't want to see, in one overhead where basically on a leash, long leash, where but the cats were part of the witchcraft, the ritual and all that other stuff. So, and cats are kind of always, witches, cats, kind of, but again, yes, I agree with you, man. Cat lovers won't like that part of the storyline. But anyways, I'm moving really fast past that. The voodoo music was classic when Sergio finds the dead body, when the fight scene. Oh, yeah. The soundtrack to this film, unbelievable. Great. There's not much that isn't great about this film. I love it all. Consuela does convince Richard to take the body. They take Fabrizio's dead body. Richard takes it as she tells him. She says, "You must do it in this specific way and take him away." And he takes him to train tracks, I guess nude. The body has been stripped of clothing, and he lays him across the tracks, and for some reason, he tapes his hands up like this, almost in a crucifixion kind of pose on the tracks, and with tape. He can't move; he's dead. And he goes back behind the bushes and waits for the train to come, and the train should get rid of everything, any kind of evidence. I guess, through his name or anything like that, they weren't going to know who this guy was anyways, Fabrizio, evidently. But yeah, that's it. Any cat juggling. If Fabrizio could have kept it holsters, he'd be alive today. Yeah, right, CM. Well, no, Fabrizio could have kept it holsters. He'd be alive today. Holstered. Well, I don't know. I think what ends up happening, I think, throughout the entire film is that they go through one male after the other. It's like one male after the other. I don't know how long Fabrizio was there. Maybe when they become a problem is when Consuela says it's time for a new man, and she goes in search of somebody else who can be the librarian or the man of the house for her, because ultimately this is also a story about staying young and a witch wanting to be beautiful forever, right? That's kind of the other side of this, and she gets to do it through aura, and she gets to do it also, which Richard finds out through the end of the manuscripts, because the last thing that her husband, and before Fabrizio died, he ran into that glass coffin and stuck a spear or something right through the heart of the coffin into her husband, which wasn't good, but but he finds out at the end of the transcripts that her husband was talking about what she was doing, and says that, well, it seems you have come to the final recipe or whatever for staying young forever, eternal youth, whatever she was trying to get. And then he died, so who knows how old Consuela is, but I do keep going over here. Sarah Ferrari, rest in peace, born December 9th, 1909, March 3rd, 1982. She was 72. There you go. He can't move. He's dead. John Swan. Yeah, I mean, but I think there was a ritual involved, okay, which is why, the hands had to go, up like that on the tracks. But yeah, just very, very, very interesting. But so through this tea and this concoction that she drinks, she's able to perform her witchcraft and stay young. And through aura, which she's able to show to these men, let me get to that scene when Richard Johnson does come back to the mansion looking for Aura. Where is she? Where is Aura? Where is Aura? Show Aura. Because she'll disappear. There's times when Consuela doesn't want Aura to be around because she wants the attention of the man, Richard, at this point. But she does see that it's just not going to work out this way. And she does drink the tea, and Aura does appear when he confronts her and says, I want Aura here, And it is the scene where they go back to Aura's bedroom, which was Fabrizio's too, but it's where he stayed. But they're in the bedroom, and for some reason, she's being mean to him and like trying to fence, got the old fencing pole, the sword there, And he's just getting pissed and uh, pissed and pissed and more pissed because of what she's saying. She's like, I wish, now I kind of wish Fabrizio was still here because Richard is being more of a pain in the ass than Fabrizio ever was. So, because Richard just wants Aura and he just wants to run away with Aura. He's like, why do we need to stay in this mansion with Consuela? Why do we need to? And Aura's just going off and off, and she kind of can't take it either. And that's when he locks the door to their bedroom, and she can't get out. And she starts to freak out. She freaks out, and she's going door to door to door. And there's a scene that everybody talks about who's seen this movie where Aura flops on the bed. And it's something right out of The Exorcist, okay? It's like something, she's got a demon in her or something, and which it's Aura and Consuela, they're the same person. That's Consuela on the bed trying to stay young, and she needs to get to her tea, and all of this stuff going on here and being locked in the room is freaking her out, and she flops on the bed with her arms up, Aura, and it's freaky. It's kind of like The Exorcist. If they put just a little bit of music there, I would have thought the next thing she was going to do was float straight up, and she didn't. But what ends up happening is she does finally get up and she runs into the closet and she freaks out, and that's where Richard runs over, pulls the clothes, and it's Consuela. It's the old woman. And she basically says, okay, so it's me. What are you going to do about it? If you want anything to do with Aura, let it be, basically. You're going to have to deal with me if you want Aura. He basically runs out of there, down into the greenhouse where he sits alone. He's kind of fetaled up in a fetal position kind of thing going on. He's just sitting there until some hours go by, evidently, and Aura comes down. It's Aura, and he sees her and wanting her still, knowing it's Consuela, it's the old woman, runs over to her and hugs her, to the point that they start walking back upstairs. Let me see. Hopefully Lady Frankenstein, Rosalba, Nuri, so baby will keep on kicking. Saw it when I was young and always liked her. Classic Dancing with Aurora. Yeah, there's a scene during all of that where the mother and Aura, right before everything happens, where they're dancing in this kind of voodoo type, witchcraft, hail to whoever, and it's freaky. It's a very, very well done dance scene where it almost had, and this is going to sound weird for people who love Suspiria, but because Suspiria was Dario Argento, there was a whole different plot. There was it was in color. There was a whole thing with the look and feel of this soundtrack and everything. But there was something about parts of this movie that made me feel this reminds me of Suspiria a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of Suspiria. Whether it be that dancing scene, like in Suspiria when she's auditioning and she's her body's kind of taken over the witches, or just there's periodically throughout and being enclosed in this big mansion for some reason I kept getting that feel at points of this movie, which is what it is. But getting towards the end of this movie, okay, because Richard has had it, he does get quieted down a bit by Aura, but he still makes it to the point where he says, there's no way I'm going to live like this. So he kind of comes out of the clutches. There is a point before the ending happens. It's a big ending too. So interesting how the ending happens. But Consuela makes him take a lamp, I think it was, something to the antique store to be sold. And he's walking there, and it's only 50 feet or so, maybe 100 feet. I don't know. But he walks over there to it, and the girl he was with at the beginning of the movie pulls up in a car and sees him. And he's in this kind of like zombie-like state, you know, and he goes in there, he sells it, gets some money, and starts to walk back, you know, and she interrupts him, and he basically says, you know, don't worry about me or whatever, you know, just closes the door on her, and she's just out there, you know what I mean? And that's kind of a weird interaction at the beginning. I mean, at the ending there, it is what it is. Character error. Edward's going through. When Consuela asks Sergio to line Aura's eyes, yes, he does her eyebrows instead. As a man knows nothing about women's makeup, he probably didn't realize the difference. No, yeah, there were many things that I'm not talking about because I want you guys to see this, even though I'm giving away everything, but it's not going to spoil I think the love that you might come away with from this movie. Especially if you're a lover of older movies, that 60s era, Dark Shadows kind of thing. But take my word for it when I tell you it's a whole different experience than anything I've watched before. And I can't say enough. It's just not because I'm a man looking at Aura and going, this movie did something for me in a way and kept me enthralled because of her beauty and all that. No, it's the way she does it. It's the way she pulls men in, whatever. It's just a total experience. But he comes back, but he gets this idea. One day, he just, at the end of the film, and here we go. The ending's so good, Burn. Yeah, I'm really giving it away before I do, Edward. I'll watch it this weekend or try to. Yes, please. It is on YouTube. YouTube is probably the only place you're going to find it unless you get a hold of a physical copy through Amazon or something like that. But yes, you can find it on here on this platform. That's where I watched it, and it's a great copy in English. So he rounding out the story, which is hard to do without all the other little things, but I think I made my point on a lot of good things on this movie. I can't think of anything bad except for what we talked about and I skipped over. He goes after Consuela and he pulls her out. He pulls her out of this mansion. He ties her hands up with rope. Takes her to like the front gates and ties her with rope to the gates, and then gets wire and puts it around her middle, around her body, and tightens it up. And I guess she's not fighting too much, but she's there. Blu-ray releases out there. Yes, Ian Sharp, and this is one I have to definitely get. Because if you love this movie as much as I do now, this is going to be one of those I need a Blu-ray for, and a poster. So I need a poster somewhere here. So I'm sure I could find one. He's got her tied up, and this is almost like witch trials and all that other stuff. He grabs a wheelbarrow and throws a bunch of wood up around her and on top of her, and basically throws a match, lights her up. Burn, witch, burn. And you see it in her eyes, and she's screaming, and she knows it's the end, and the camera pulls in while she's burning, close up to the eyes, and in typical Italian fashion, uh, that's the end of the film. Close up of the eyes, the fire going. Um, that's the film, man. That's the film, and there's so much more to it than I even spoke of. I mean, little things throughout the entire movie that you will be like, wow, man, this is. I'd be curious on what other people think. Not that I'm going to know. I mean, you guys can't tell me unless you put it in the comments below after you watch it. You come back and go, man, I tell you, Dino. But I'm probably not going to get that, and that's okay. That's okay. I get to gush and tell you what I think, and this is a film where I probably will give this a 9 out of 10. That's how much I like this movie. I give it a solid 9 out of 10. As you know, no movie gets a 10. Well, over the past year, I think I maybe 1 or 2 10s. I know Dress to Kill, I gave a 10 out of 10, I think, when I talked about that film, Dress to Kill. It's just something about that. But anyways, Holy Moly CM says, same here, right, Ducky? Really gift. I mean, really made the film. Yeah. I think. Listen, Aura. She was the star of this film, but all the actors. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Really quick. Again, I said it at the beginning. I want to point it out again. Before the old woman was even killed, the reason for all of this is because at the very end, why did I leave this out? Because at the very end, she's looking for another librarian. The old woman, Consuela, has had enough of Richard, and he comes out, Richard, and sees Aura on the bed in the library with the Ivan Rasimov, who, again, we've talked about on this channel over and over again in most of the Giallo films not most of them, but he was in a handful of Giallo films. And that's when he had enough. But to see Ivan Rasimov after seeing him in all the Giallo films, and Aura's there, oh, no, he attacked me, and was doing the exact same thing. So that's when they also go that, over and over they do this, maybe until she finds somebody who really will love her. I don't know, Consuela. Who knows? I don't know. But it certainly made for an interesting movie. And, I appreciate the people who are here. Dino is changed after seeing this movie. I know I sound so like what can I say? I sound so like, yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It really hit me. I remember Sinister Cinema. I bought stuff from them. 9.1 for me, Dino. Oh, you got 0.1 more than me, Connie Clary. Well, I'm glad you like it that much too. But yeah, this, and Edward Stewart has this on VHS. Man, you need to open up a VHS store. If I had all the VHS tapes you had, I would open up an old style VHS rental. Anyways, whatever. 9 is a great rating. Yes. So that's like the ending of the movie. Then he goes out and he burns her and stuff like that. But I don't think I skipped over anything. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, people who might overlook it by thinking it's like a romantic, because people will say it's a gothic romance. This takes a weird trip halfway through the movie, and it's horror. It's horror. It's Italian horror. It may take 30 minutes to get there, but then you start getting glimpses of it and it becomes weird. But then by the end, man, you're like, yeah, this is Italian horror, man. And definitely some very, very cool stuff. A classic 60s Gothic. Yes. Ian Sharp. It's like a never ending story. So yeah, no, an hour 44 minutes, and I think it deserved that. And I would love an ongoing series, out of this, adapted from this. That would be a cool thing too, where this witch just, is constantly, you know, bringing in what. But I don't think you could ever replace what Aura gave to the movie. You know what I mean? Because I think without an actress like that, who for me pulled me in so much, because that was the point of the movie too, to pull Richard or Fabrizio or the third man, Ivan Rasimov, who pull them in to be kind of this lover for Consuela. Imagine being a witch and being able to show yourself as a young, beautiful woman or man or whatever, and you know you're the lover does not see the old woman. He sees the young. It's, in a way, it's disturbed, yes, and very out there, but it was an excellent movie. Excellent movie. So, anyways, listen, I know it's only an hour here. Uh, Down the line here, we do got Killer Clowns from Outer Space trivia night tomorrow night. So no caption this tomorrow night, but trivia night tomorrow night. We will still have fun. Who the heck knows what we'll do tomorrow night, but definitely trivia questions. Part two, actually, because we did a Killer Clowns trivia night. My God, couple years ago. Jeez, I can't believe it's that long, maybe. But we'll definitely have another one tomorrow night. And then me and Dave Plouffe, I don't have it listed yet, but of course, every Sunday, me and Dave Plouffe will be, doing something. And this Sunday, it's going to be 80s music. We will be touching on our top 10 desert island albums that we'd take with us. We will be talking about our experiences in the 80s with groups, songs, what do we remember, concerts we went to, any experiences, nightclubs even. I've got some stories about that was just a special decade. Anyways, also, ladies love the witch. Poe Girl Shines. Good to see you here tonight too, Poe Girl Shines. So there's that. And tonight I did put together a nice stream, I think. It's got some really, and all the audio fixed pretty darn good on this stream tonight. So if you want a spooky night tonight with a little bit of mystery, with CBS Radio Mystery Theater, some suspense, I've got Sorry Wrong Number in there, Inner Sanctum, I got A Creaking Door. There's just a lot of really good stuff intermingled throughout tonight's stream. So hopefully, if it's storming where you're at, and to light a candle, turn us on tonight overnight, and enjoy the stream. Oh, good. You and Dave work well together. I like all your shows. Yeah, it will. Me and Dave every Sunday. I just haven't put a thumbnail together yet for Sunday night show, but I will. So yeah, it's going to be a fun night. And then I think we'll go back to, I'm not sure what we'll do. We'll talk. It's week by week, but the Art Bell is usually once a month. We'll see how that goes. Thanks, Dino Mods. Be well, peace and blessings. Yes, CM. Yes, I am going to take off out of here a little bit earlier tonight too. As I usually go an hour and a half, I'm only going an hour. Some movies I can talk probably for an hour and a half. I think I summed this up pretty well in an hour. But listen, basically, you just heard me gush for an hour. And the ones who did show up, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys very much. As always on the channel. It's good to have some people in the audience while I'm talking about these maybe a little more rare films. This is a cult classic film. Cult classic, yes. It's got that status attached to it. And it might not be one of the big named horror films, but that bring in all the people. Oh my God, I can't wait to hear about it. But I think talking about this is better than talking about Friday the 13th or Halloween or something like that. I mean, this has a a lot more to offer. I mean, I put this above any of those movies, but anyways, yeah, there's that. So with that said, you guys, not more anything more from it. And I'm stumbling through words tonight too. Every now and then I get like that. It's been a hell of a week. That's all I can say. Ciao, everyone. Hey, Sears, James. Ciao, ciao. Arrivederci. Agasta beach. Aura. Can I just say aura one last time? The dreams you can have after watching this movie. What the hell does that even mean? So with that said, you guys, I can continue to stay on here, but I'm not going to. An hour's enough for tonight. With that said,